Hello guys, how are we doing and welcome back to the channel. The CDL starts on the 5th of December and I'm here to tell you exactly what maps you can expect to spectate throughout Season 1's Black Ops 7 competitive life cycle. Now, of course, as you know, ranked play is heavily driven by what the CDL decides to have as its meta guns, the map pool, the rules, the GAs, all those sort of things. And as a result, what we're likely to see as the map set in the CDL is going to directly be reflected in ranked play when it launches Season 2. However, there are a few solid maps coming to Season 1, and as a result, we might see some of these replaced by the time Season 2 launches with ranked play, and the competitive settings might change. But today, we're going to be going through what we know so far. There are 5 maps for Hardpoint, 5 maps for S&D, and 3 maps in the competitive rule set for Control, and we're going to be very briefly going through every single one of them. So, to kick it off, easy for me to say, we're going to be starting with Hardpoint, and of course I'm here to hear your opinions as well. I'm very intrigued to hear what your thoughts are on these maps we're going to be playing, because there are some really good maps in here. There's some really okay maps, some questionable decisions in this map set, and for Hardpoint, all 5 Hardpoint maps are original Black Ops 7 maps. The first one is Blackheart. So in Blackheart, you all know it. It's the one on the oil rig. It's not oil rig. It's some sort of central rig in the sea. P1 on Hardpoint is pretty much in this middle zone, as you can see here. P1's in this middle zone. P2 is in this little back room corner on this side of the map. P3 is all the way over to the literally the opposite corner of the map. P4 is across this little walkway over towards this area. And finally, P5 finds itself in literally the opposite corner of the map to that, on this little elbow area, just from this long wall jump area of the map. Now, for me, I believe this was picked over Raid. I'm not sure about that decision, although Raid with wall bouncing is a little bit cheesy. But in any case, I think this is an okay map. Okay, it's not brilliant. It's very small. The spawns make it so that controlling spawns doesn't mean much, because it's such a small map. People can take whatever lane they want. But the hardpoints are in good locations, okay? I think they're relatively good. They're spread quite far. The fact you're able to fit 5 hardpoint locations on it is a plus in my book, and that is Blackheart. Next one we have in store is Colossus. So this is actually a really solid hardpoint map for me. I really love playing this map, at least when I'm playing competitively. P1 is in this top little room bit where you've got 2 staircases leading up to it, and you can also do a jump up from the ramp. P2 finds itself in this little corner where you've got like the shopping, like the little shop, the cafe, whatever it is over here. P3 is sort of not all the way across the map. I'd have loved to have seen P3 sort of like back here or over in this area, to be honest. But P3 is all the way over here towards this little lifeboat area. P4 is then in the opposite corner to P2, sort of like along this perpendicular area to P2 where you've got this little sheet, and that's where P4 is. Now, for me, I love the map for Hardpoint. I think the locations could probably be spread out. I think you can definitely fit 5 hills on this map. I think P1 and 2 are fine. P3 I think could be over here in this corner. P4 probably where CDOM is, and P5 could be where P4 is. And I think that'd mean you've then got to definitely rotate to P1 from P4. So it's a similar rotation from P4 to P1 as you would have from P5 to P1, but I definitely think you could fit 5 objectives on here instead of 4. But that is the next map we have. After Colossus, we have Den. I actually really like Den. So this is the one set in Japan. You've got like the temple, as you can see here. It's pretty good. It's this sort of map. P1 is in the middle, near where the gun is, as you can see here. That's P1. P2 is in this broken building across from the rooftops. That's where P2 is. P3 is sort of perpendicular to P1, and it's where you've got like in front of Dojo, between pipes and Dojo, where you've got this helipad on the left is. That's P3. And then P4 is just past roofs, between where you've got the dragon statue and roofs. That's P4. Again, for me, this is a map big enough to fit 5. If we can fit 5 maps on Blackheart, 5 hardpoints on Blackheart, we can definitely fit 5 hardpoints on Den. And for me, I really think this could be slightly better. Again, I'd have P1 there. P2 is fine. P3 I'd have dragged back even further, maybe back here in the Dojo perhaps. P4 I think is fine over in this pipe section where you're between shore pipes, this sort of area, and then I think P5 should be where P4 is. Again, I think P3 is, for me, similar to what we saw on Colossus here. P3 I don't think should be perpendicular to P1. I think P3 should be in a further corner, allowing space for P5, but it's fine. We've had 4 hill hardpoints in the past and they've not worked horrendously, really. So that's Den. I actually don't mind it. I think this is pretty good. I would love to see like a mid cut in from middle to roofs, because I think roofs is its own sort of lane. And my fear was that it wasn't going to get used significantly, but because you've got 2 hardpoints here where when that hill is live, the spawn of the people not holding the hill is the other side of the roofs. Roofs are used quite considerably on this map. Okay, it's quite a big hot spot of action, let's say. Now the next map that they've lined up for Hardpoint is Exposure. So for me, I don't really like this map. Might be an L take, but I'm not a massive fan of this. So P1, smack bang in the middle of this map. Quite simply, P2 finds itself perpendicular to P1, which I don't think is a good idea, but in any case, that's what it is. It's literally just on the tank, just here, where people go from P1 to the tank really, really easily. P3 is in this little server room. I think that's what the com is, server, something like that. Or gens, might be gens. Again, the call-out guide will be coming soon for this, for my use as well. But that's where P3 is. P4 then flips to the other side of the map. Under the ring, that's where P4 is, and then P5 finds itself on this post in the middle where you can hop from P1. Now, for me, the reason I'm not a fan of this is because you have so much useless space around the hills, and then you've got P1, 2, and 5 sort of on top of each other. Like, this hot spot of where the hardpoints are, I think, are far too close. I think you could have dragged P4 back even to here. P3 could be dragged back to this plat here where seed bomb is. There's so many different areas you could have maybe just spaced out a little bit more, because it's just chaotic. It's a mid-map chaos map, and I just don't think, especially the rotation from P1 to P2, I just don't think that's like a sensible thing to have. I think P2 should be on one side of the map, but it makes for some interesting plays. For example, moving from P2 to P3, you want this CDOM control heavily, because that's where people are likely rotate to get the spawns of P3. So it makes it interesting, but for me, I think it could have probably been a little bit more logically laid out from a specific hill perspective. Then the final map we have for Hardpoint is Scar. So Scar as a map is this one. I don't know where it's quite set. I believe it's set in a frozen Alaskan village torn by rebellion, but it's okay. I actually think this is a really fun map to play from Hardpoint. So P1 is smack bang in the middle, on the wreckage that you can see here. P2 is near the motel, sort of behind where you're seeing this picture. P3 is by plane, under this broken plane bit, and this is a really sketchy hill to go on. You've got no cover, you're on low ground, you're pretty open. It's a sort of hill where whoever's on it needs to not really be seen. P4 is bottom house or bottom blue. The only thing for P4 for me is the spawns back here need to be blocked, otherwise they get popped in. Like, people just spawn there really easily, and I think that should be maybe a little bit less strict, maybe. But then that results in 2 alternate spawns being P2 and P1. But in any case, this isn't a spawn guide video. I just think P4 spawns could be better. That's my opinion. And then P5 is actually under green, so it's just in this little decking here before you get onto the snow. And I think actually this might be my favorite Hardpoint map. There's 5 hills. They're logically placed. You know, every rotation is a challenge, maybe other than P1 to P2, but every rotation is a challenge. Spawns on 2 of the hills are very important, less important on the other 2, and definitely really not massively important on P1. So I think that's a really nice mix, and it keeps it really exciting to watch. But for me, that's my favorite Hardpoint map. So just to cover where we were with all of this, you have Blackheart, Colossus, Den, Exposure, and Scar, and they are your CDL Hardpoint maps, at least until Season 2. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it useful. I'm going to be doing search and destroy maps and then overload maps we can expect to see in competitive coming very soon. And yeah, as I say, let me know your thoughts on Hardpoint. Are these the maps you expected? Did you expect any other maps in this map set? I'm interested to hear your thoughts and let me know down below in the comments. That'll do for me. Ciao for now.